Okay. Hey, Sono. Hello, all. What's poppin'? Nothing much is poppin'. Well, yeah, things were a little bit busy today, so nice. Made a little money today. Hello. You're welcome at any time. It is always lit, man. Always. Hello, Miguel. How are you? Sorry for the delay there, everybody. I hope everyone is well today. Today made a little bit of money today, so can't really argue. That's what I did. Went to the doctor just for my regular checkup and stuff. So gonna share the spoils of my fortunes. I don't even know if I could spend the spare shares of my fortunes right now. Oy, oy, oy. I swear the market's absolutely crazy right now. Absolutely nuts. I don't even know anymore. Most of the success of my week is going to be hinging on tomorrow, so could use new tires for winter. Yeah, today was pretty successful, so hopefully if the next couple of days go well, then maybe I'm going to be in good shape. Maybe. Just depends. Run Valorant with you and you need a fifth My dude. My dude, Tempura. Okay. See, the thing is that I could run Valorant or I could make money to to do things later. Hello, Gustavo. I sent you an email, buddy. Okay. I sent you an email, so you should have gotten that. Hopefully, you should have gotten that email. So if you got that email there, I wanted to just make sure that you got that uh, for uh, for your access code stuff. Okay, that's cool. I just wanted to let you know so that way it's not like, oh, I didn't ever received anything. No, I got your email there. I got your email there and sent you something back. So all right, we'll wait for a few more people to come on in. I know it's just kind of getting started here, so but that's okay. It does feel like a Friday. I can't really argue with that. How's the quality? Is the quality okay? Or is it a little bit blurry? Okay. Because it says my source is 648, which I didn't want to set. I wanted it at 720. But, well, I guess I'll just kind of go with it since it's not too big of a deal for an educational stream. I'm not really running a game here, so. If I was running a game, then it'd be different. Look fab on any setting. That's very flattering. All right. All right. So we'll have a few more people start coming in, and then yeah. All right. But we'll go ahead and get started here, and we'll work our way there. All right. Good stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here for today. Welcome back to Wednesday. Yeah, there is a bit of a lag. There's a bit of a lag, but everything else should be okay. Um, all right, welcome back to Wednesday, end of the week time today. So today, we're going to be ending off chapter 3 here for today. Sorry about that. So for today, we're going to be ending off chapter 3 here for today. Section 3.3 is the last part of chapter 3, and then we're going to go right into chapter 4. Just as a friendly reminder here for everybody, remember that we will not be meeting here on Monday. Okay, so no class on Monday, so you get a nice long weekend without my face. So, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but yeah, that's a thing. Okay, so just letting you know that's gonna be for Monday, no class. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But Labor Day is coming, so you get a nice chance to enjoy your weekend. You know, do something nice outside or whatever you want to do. I have a plan for Labor Day weekend. Uh, next Monday is our first test. That hasn't been decided yet. I will let you know. I will let you know once that time rolls around. Okay, so I haven't decided that yet. Once we get through the material for chapter 5, then I'll certainly let you know. So that's not a guarantee. I just want to point that out. So once yeah, I know it's on the syllabus, but anything on the syllabus is a tentative. It's not actually set in stone. So I have to put something down, but I can't. I can't be like, oh yeah, that's a certainty. That's why I put a little note on there. It's not set in stone. Okay. Man, you know what? It's kind of hot in here. Let me turn on the fan here a little bit. Wah, wah. All right. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start here with section 3.3, which talks about decimal fractions. All right, so a majority of this section here is going to be fairly quick because a majority of the time here in section 3.3 with decimal fractions at the very least just pretty much requires a calculator of some sort of fashion. All right, so let's go ahead and do that right now. 3.3. All right, so, well, thank you. I've been a Cub fan since I was, since I was 3. So, it's the first thing I ever saw on TV was a Cubs game. Stuck by them ever since. All right, so 3.3 here is decimal fractions. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at several problems. Again, what are decimal fractions? What exactly would entail a decimal fraction? Well, it's the way you would write certain fractions, for example. So one of the things is for, like, you have maybe 1/3. And so, hey man, this is not a White Sox Cubs thing. Hey, the White Sox are very good this year. I'm hoping the best for the White Sox this year too. So the White Sox have a lot of stud hitters. All right. So we have 1/3 If you decide to do on your calculator here 1 divided by 3, 1 divided by 3 is like 0.33333, and that 3 can go on forever. But another way to represent 0.3 is basically, since that 3 kind of extends on forever, you can write that with, let's see, where is that here? You can write it with a dash on top. Like this would be 0.3 repeating, okay? There are other numbers in mathematics which repeat infinite decimal wise. So you have the number e. E is actually a number here when it comes to decimals. All right, it's a special number used in mathematics in several different types of calculations. This is actually 2.71828, and the 1828 part, actually surprisingly enough, this part here also repeats. So we just draw a, yes, thank you for telling me I'm bad. Still no? Yeah, this 1828 part repeats infinitely. So let me see if I can get this right. No. All right. Guess I'll have to make this up here. So let me put that on this thing. Oh, maybe not like that. 7. So this last part here, I guess I can't really do it on this formatting here. But actually, maybe I can. Oh, there we go. Got it. All right. So 2.71828. This 1828 here would be repeating. All right. All right. So I think so. This is another way you can express just repeating decimals in general. You can also go ahead and take mixed numbers and change that into decimals. So for example, here, if you had a mixed number here, say 4 3/4, for example. Okay, so let's say you had 4 3/4. On a calculator, all you would need to do is take the 4, that would be your whole number, and then put 3/4 in a calculator, 3 divided by 4, and you would get 0.75. So you would get 4.75. So you actually just take the fraction as a separate part, just kind of put that in the calculator, and you'll get a decimal equivalent related to that. Now, decimal equivalents to fractions are very, very important. Why is this the case? Well, because if you're working on a shop floor or anything of the like, oftentimes when you see prints or anything like that, they may be expressed in decimals or they may be expressed as mixed numbers. It just depends on how the engineer actually drew it out and set the dimensions. So I'm going to show off a page here in the book, and this is a really actually good page to kind of reference here. So I'm going to go to page 168 here in the e-text. And page 168 in the e-text here, if you take a look, as you can see here, these are major measurements that you can find realistically on a shop floor, or things that you may use maybe on a particular problem. You notice that certain decimals relate to certain fractions. Okay, so 1/8 would be 0.125. So it says, if you're looking at a dimension of a particular print or figure, it says, okay, it's 3.125 inches, then it's really 3 1/8 inches. Okay, so if you needed to use the fractional equivalent for like certain tools or whatnot. All right, so if you're not sure what that translates to, well, there you go, you got an equivalent here. This little guy is fairly helpful here as well. This is also posted on pretty much every shop floor. You'll see a lot of these posters here. The more you get used to using tools, then you probably will use this less and less, but this is a very good handy reference guide, especially when you're trying to approximate which type of tool you should use on, on which type of dimension. Because not everything is going to fall underneath, say, these specific decimals. It may fall in between these two decimals, for example. And then maybe you need to find the tool that best reflects, that particular dimension, for example. So those things, they may not seem super important, but in reality, I can definitely tell you that they do. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here and see how we can measure this out. Let me look at an example here. Where's that example there? Okay. just had that a second ago. Okay, there we go. Yep. Okay, so let's do an example, and I just need to find that right one. I'm just gonna move that up. There we go. Okay, so here in this case, let's say we have 4.283. Let's say we have 4.283 inches, or whatever the case may be. Our goal here is to go ahead and find, actually, you know what, I'll put it here. That's a good idea. So what we want to find here is we want to find the nearest fractional equivalent. Okay, so we want to find the nearest fractional equivalent of 4.283 inches. So we're going to convert this from a decimal. We'll convert it into a mixed number of some variety in order to find out the closest thing that we can get to 4.283. So let's take a look at how we can do that. First and foremost here, just take the 4. We're just going to leave it alone. All right, 4 doesn't do anything in this part of the problem, so we're just going to have 4 here, no problem. Okay, the rest of it is going to be the fractional equivalent, the 0.283 part. So we're going to look, so what's the key here? The key here is to look at the numbers to the right of the decimal. Okay, so we're going to look at 0.283, and we're going to find the decimal, we're going to find the fractional equivalent that's closest to 0.283. So again, keep in mind here in the back of your mind 0.283. I'm going to write that actually in the chat here, so you actually have that as a well, thank you. That's not really a command. Let's see if I can, there we go. All right, so what I'm going to do here is go back to the chart that we had on that page. Okay, so if we look at this chart here, what is the closest decimal here that you see on the right to 0.283? I'll make this a bit bigger here so it's a little easier to read. So what's the closest thing to 0.283 according to this chart here? All right, 9/30 seconds. Okay, very good. That's right. So 9/30 seconds here is the closest thing to 0.283. This being 0.28125. Again, why do we want to focus on that? It's because if you're using tools or whatnot, you need to find something that's as close to it or a little bit over, you know, if you can, in order to maybe work with that particular dimension. Okay, so because not everything is going to be super precise when it comes to tooling. So actually, at least tool dimensions, I should say. In any case, yeah, so the closest is, again, 9/32 or 0.28125 or 9/30 seconds. That is correct. Okay, now let's talk about another thing in this particular example. You're saying, well, hang on a second, that's not too bad. I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Okay, but let's remember here, sometimes context matters. All right, so how about the closest 16th of an inch? So if we looked at the closest 16th of an inch, this was 30 seconds of an inch, okay? So let's say I want the closest 16th of an inch. What would it be then? Let me go ahead and move this out. What would it be then? The closest 16th of an inch, according to our little chart here. What do you think? So let's take a look here. We have 3/16, which is 0.1875. Remember, 16ths of an inch. So I should have some, so basically what I'm looking for here, I'm looking for a number over 16, or again, something in equivalent to that form of over 16. So essentially, I guess I'll describe this to make it a little more clear about what I'm asking for here, because maybe I'm not too clear here. So if you notice here, 3/16 of an inch is 0.1875. All right, 4/16 of an inch is the same thing as 1/4, which is 0.25. We go to 5/16 of an inch, and that's 0.3125. And we want to make a determination. We say, okay, which one of these is going to be closest to our decimal part, which was 0.283? Is it going to be, say, for example, 5/16? Or will it be, say, a quarter? They're both pretty close. Hey, Diego, you meant 5/16, right? Yeah, 15 over 16 would be way out here. 15 over 16 would be right here. 9,375. So if we look at this here, all right, the closest one here is actually going to be 5/16. So 5/16 would be the closest 16ths of an inch. So if I wanted to find the closest, let's go back here for a second. So the closest 16ths of an inch is going to be 5/16. So you would have, your answer here would be 4 and 5/16 as your final answer for the closest 16ths of an inch for that expression. All right, are there any questions about that? I want to be sure that that's hopefully a little bit clear there. Okay, cool. Okay, let's go ahead and do a couple of problems here. Yeah, let's go ahead. You want to do another example? Yeah, absolutely. Let's do another example. That's fine. I have no problems in doing that. Let me pick another number, okay? And then we'll do that. So how about 3.337? Let's go with 3.337, and let's say we want the nearest eighth of an inch. Okay. So let's look at the chart here. We're just going to look at the 0.337 part, okay? That's all we're going to do here. Look at the 0.337 part. So we're going to look at the nearest eighth of an inch, okay? So we're kind of restricted here. We have to look at the nearest eighth of an inch. So which one here is going to match that in this case? Or the closest, I should say. What's closest to 0.337? That's correct, 3/8, right? 3/8 is 0.375, and 2/8, which is 1/4, is 0.25. So the nearest eighth of an inch would be 0.375. So again, context matters here, okay? That's I guess I'm just trying to kind of get to you guys and be like, all right, context does matter because it's asking us for specific types of inches, for example. So 3 and 3/8 would be the correct answer. Yes, that's the closest expression to 0.337. Again, since we're working with approximations again, that's why we're going to get these results here. If we're working with super specific fractions, we could break this down even further if we want to. That's not too hard to figure out. a way you can do that here, and I guess I'll show this off as well, is if you, for example here, here's a way you can kind of figure it out if you want to go from a decimal into a fraction, if you want to kind of break it down. So if I have, for example here, 0.23. Let's say I have 0.23, and let's say I repeat that over and over again. Let's say I have 0.23232323. Okay, let's say that repeats over and over again. It'll be with a bar on the top there and stuff like that. Okay, this is actually going to be one of the things that you can do here, and here's a kind of a trick here. The trick is to basically put this. The trick is to put over consecutive nines. Based on how many numbers repeat. Okay, so that's kind of the trick behind this here. So if I were to say 0.23 repeating, let me go ahead and actually put this out here on math type. So okay. So if I have 0.23 repeating like this, okay, let's say this is what I have. All right. So what I want to do is I want to express this as a fraction. So since I have two numbers that repeat, 2 and 3, then basically I can go ahead and I can put two consecutive nines. All right, so I can put it over two consecutive nines based on how many numbers repeat. So since there's two numbers, I put it over two consecutive nines. I can write this as a fraction as 23 over 99, for example. So I can write it just like that, and this would be a way I can approximate from a repeating decimal into a fraction if I wanted to write it that way. If I want to write a general decimal here, let's go ahead and so that's for repeaters. If I want a general decimal, oops, a general decimal into a fraction, if I had, say, 2.75, for example. Okay, so you take the 2 here. The 2 doesn't really do much, right? So if I had 2.75, the 2 doesn't do much, but if you see here, remember when we talked about decimals, this was the tenths, this was the hundredth spot. So we actually take this amount of decimal places. This is the hundredth spot here. That would be the 5. And so we're actually going to put it as 75 over 100, since 5 is in the hundredth spot. That's the last placeholder. Okay, and then you can reduce that down if necessary. This is actually reducible. 75 over 100 will reduce to 2 3/4. So here we get this right. So we get all right. So that's how we come up with that. All right. Remember, it's the trick here in this case. Trick is to look at the placeholder of the last number in the decimal and put it over that number and put the end and have the denominator equal to that number. Okay, so basically an example here would be thousandths Silence would be equal to over 1,000, okay, for example. Okay, so something to that effect. Oh, I thought I put that to 16. Okay, that was weird. All right. Not sure why I did that. All right. In any case, that don't matter. All right. Are there any questions about that? Again, if you have questions, type write out your question in the chat, or just type no. It's possible. It's possible, Ivan. So for example here, if we had 0.3 repeating, right? If you have 0.333, that's equal to 33 over 99, which then that equals 1/3. So it is possible, yes. So are there any other questions before we move forward here? Okay. All right, good beans. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a couple of problems here, all right, from the book here. So let's go ahead and met it out. Let's see what we get. Wait, that wasn't the right page. Let's go here. Go to 174 here. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at number 6, all right, and let's see how we can go ahead and do this problem here. All right, this is on page 174 in the textbook. So yeah, things. All right, anyway, it says a land developer purchased a piece of land containing 437.49 acres. He plans to divide it into a 45-acre recreational area, so a nice big park, and lots of 3/4 of an acre each. How many lots will he be able to form from this piece of land? Okay, so let's take a look here. How would you do number 6 here? How would we be able to do this problem here? What should we do? What do you think we could do here in this case? Okay, I agree. Very nice, Ivan. That's right. We're going to take the total amount. All right, so let's go here. All right, so we're going to take the total amount here in this case. In this case, it happens to be 437. Oops, gosh. We'll have 437.49 acres. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that carefully here. So we'll have 437.49 acres. We're going to take away the 45 acres, which is just for land development. Okay, just for the recreational / park area. Okay. And let me make this bigger again. And then we're going to divide it by 3/4 or 0.75. So you can convert that into 0.75 if you like. That'll make things a bit easier. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. So first of all, if we do 437.49 minus 45, let's go ahead and do that here. So here we get 392. 0.49, and then we'll divide that by the 0.75, or again by 3/4. Now, if you have a graphing calculator, you put 3/4 in parentheses, or convert 3/4 to a decimal and then go ahead and divide by the 0.75, whichever way you find comfortable. And then let's see what we get here. So what do we get? What do we get in this case? How many lots can we make? What's our answer here? All right, good. So our answer here, 525. Hey, that's okay. That's fine if you're late. I don't mind at all. 526. That's not what I got here. I got this, 523.32. Yeah. So I get 523.32 is what I got here when I divided by 0.75 here. Now in this case here, we don't take the 0.32 into account. Calculator's allowed, yes. Calculator is allowed, absolutely yes. You know, just looking at it realistically. Yeah, you should be using your calculator for this section. You do this by hand, it'll take you a while. So yeah, a lot of things we'll just use the calculator for. Okay. All right, so here we get 523 lots, okay? Again, we don't take the 0.32 into account. We want full lots here, okay? So the 0.32 doesn't count, so 523 lots will be our final answer for this problem. Actually, I can show you how to Gauss eliminate a matrix. If you're willing to wait until after class, I can certainly show you step by step. That example in itself, to Gauss eliminate a matrix, takes me about 45 minutes to an hour. But once you get the pattern down, it's actually pretty easy. Okay, good beans. All right, let's go ahead and try another one here. Let's try another problem. Just one more here, and then we'll move on to the next section here. So there's not a whole lot of problems in this section. So, all right, so I want to look at number 12 because number 12 is something that you may see in other problems. So I want to be, you know, I just want to be sure that you guys understand what kind of this stuff is. So it says a reservoir is used at an average rate of 125,000 gallons per day. Convert this to units of MGD. MGD, not Miller Genuine Draft. No. But the MGD here is for millions of gallons per day. All right. So if you may see this in other problems in the book, so I just wanted to point this one out because there's a lot of other problems that use this. So millions of gallons per day. So here we're given the fact that we have 125,000 gallons per day. So let's put this here. Okay. Right. So we're going to have 125,000. Oh, why did I not have So I have 125,000 over 1 million. Make sure that's a million. Yeah, okay. Woo. All right. And can anybody tell me what's that as a decimal? What's that as a decimal here? Okay, very good. 0.125 again, 0.125 million gallons per day. Okay. You guys okay today? You guys have been very little slow here today, so I'm a little worried about you guys. I hope I'm not going too fast here. Okay. I want to be sure, be like, oh, am I going crazy here? Be like, hey, you guys are alive? You alive? I'd be like, oh my god. Oh, okay. It won't let you. It won't let you type. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. The chat there. Just go ahead and put like point, like 0 point, like 125. Yeah. I tried it with just 0.125, and it wouldn't let you chat there. Well, yeah. I want other people to participate if they like. You know, just I'm just like, oh, where are you guys? I'd be like, oh my god. Talking to myself is kind of boring. Let me tell you. I mean, I could, but you know. You don't have to stop, Ivan. No. No, please. All right. Good beans. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 3. Okay. Let's move on here to chapter 4. Okay, so that's you guys are fine. You guys are perfectly fine. All right. So let's go to section 4.1. Section 4.1 talks about ratios and proportions. Okay. So a lot of this stuff here deals with ratios, proportions, and percentages in some form or fashion. Okay, so we're going to go over the first couple of sections here in this particular chapter, and then next time we'll get most of the rest of this done here. So, all right. In any case, let's talk about how ratios and proportions are listed. So ratios and proportions, you kind of often see problems that be like, you know, x, we have, for example here, x over 7 equals, um, let's say 3 over 2 or something like that. Whatever the case may be. And then we would have to say, okay, can you tell me what x is at the end of the day, and things like that. This would be an example of a proportion of some variety. We also can look at ratios. Ratios are also seen, again, if you're talking about, say, mixing two things together. So ratios, for example, would be like 3 to 2, a 3 to 2 ratio. Or again, like if you're mixing oil and gas in like a lawnmower, then you have to put like a certain kind of ratio mixture of oil to gas. So like you know, 10 parts gas to 1 part oil, so something like that. So you'd be like, you could see it written like this, a 10 to 1 ratio, for example, just like so. Okay, so we're going to be exploring how to look at ratios here. carefully. We'll see exactly how we can solve for them. Again, we want to be able to take a look at several problems here, and you'll see that in this section and the next section about how to look at ratios depending on the context of the problem. You'll see exactly how that is going to work. All right, so let's look at that problem in the book there. Man, okay. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna grab a little water here, drink. Sorry about the delay there. All right. All right. Ooh. All right. I had a little bit of lunch this afternoon, but yeah, when you're talking like a long time, yeah, it's like you just go. So there we go. All right. So the page I'm on here is going to be page 203. We're going to try one of these problems here. This talks about the teeth on a particular gear. Do I intend to talk about number theory someday? I mean, I could talk about statistics and basic statistics and a little bit about that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get super deep into number theory. I haven't worked with super deep stuff in quite a while, considering I've been doing this for quite a while. But no offense, it's just like you're just out of practice when you haven't worked with it in 20 plus years. Wait, what? Really? I thought there were people who streamed math classes on Twitch. At least I thought so, right? Don't people? I'm not the only one, right? I can't be the only one that streams math, right? I thought there would be people streaming on here due to the Nah. I thought there'd be more people streaming on here on Twitch due to the fact that we were in the middle of the pandemic and people are all are online. I have a distaste for Zoom because I think Zoom sucks. Because I do like the fact that you guys can remain anonymous and ask me questions. That's why I want you to remain anonymous, ask me questions. So that way you don't have to feel like, oh, I didn't get it right. I don't really care if you get it wrong. The purpose of the stream is just to have you guys learn. So yeah, I honestly think I wasn't really all that special, to be honest, just because pandemic stuff. So you take math finals for you? Just how many zeros can you put on that check after the number 1? I'm going to start with 6, and then we'll work our way up from there. The little commas in between too. Yeah, I thought there was. I thought there were more people on here. Actually, in all honesty, I really did think that there were more people on here. You know, listening to math lectures or whatever. Shift the decimal point a little. I'm a legend. I'm a legend on Twitch. Come on, man. I seriously can't be like literally the only person streaming mathematics. Or if I am, then I don't know. I'd be shocked. I mean, Twitch is a huge platform with a ton of gamers and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like in this own little nook in the middle of nowheresville. But I'm here to help everybody else because you guys put into you guys in the course and stuff. So, do you have quizzes? No, there's no quizzes for the course Techno. There's just gonna be like the homework and just the tests. If there were quizzes, I would have told you on the syllabus stuff. So anything on the syllabus is what I have to follow. So oh, okay. Thank you very much, Tell. Yeah, actually, let me talk about that for just a second before I move on here. Um, uh, hey, I'm glad he's online and trying to put together good lectures too. Always recommend I always I the more the merrier. Just exchanging of information. No, the test there will be on my math lab Techno. Yeah, there'll be possibilities for extra credit. I won't announce that just yet, but yes, there will be possibilities for extra credit. Yeah, so just for future reference for you guys, remember what a syllabus is, okay? So remember that the syllabus is a contract, okay? A syllabus is a contract between you and I, right? If I make the syllabus and I have it done a certain way, right, that's what I have to hold myself to. That's the standard I have to hold myself to. Okay, meaning if that's the point structure for the class, that's the point structure for the class. I can't unilaterally decide, oh, you know what, I just magically changed the amount of points without first of all informing you first. I can't make that decision on my own. I'd have to confer with you guys and then have you agree to that before I make any change to the course in terms of like point structure and grades and homework and quizzes. So if I didn't say like at the beginning, if somebody says, yeah, if a teacher in the future says, "Oh, you magically have quizzes out of nowhere," I'd be like, "No, look, here's what the syllabus says. There's no quizzes on the syllabus. Okay, then there's no quizzes on the syllabus." If they talk to the class and say, "Okay, I want to add quizzes to the syllabus," and you agree, then fine. But yeah, always remember that a syllabus, at least in a college setting, is going to be a contract between you and the professor. So that's very important to know. So if you feel like you're getting shafted on certain grades or whatnot, remember that fact. Okay, I'm not going to shaft you on grades. I've basically kind of put out exactly how the structure of the class will go. So I try not to put any surprises there. I give you exactly what you put into it. So I don't want to be like that guy who just pulls stuff out of nowhere. So I'm not like, again, I'm not Randy Orton. I'm not going to RKO you out of nowhere, right? It just makes no sense. So I try and be as straightforward as possible, so it's not. So I want to be as transparent as possible too. If you feel confused about anything, you guys are free to ask me questions about that. Just like, hey, we got quizzes? No. Okay. You email a test? Nah. I just put that online so you guys can try it. So I'll be once I announce the test, I'll post it online, of course. But I hope that answers a few questions there. So you guys are free to ask me anytime about that stuff. All right, let's keep going here for some reason. All right, okay. Let's take a look here at yeah. Actually, I want to look at this. So let's take a look here. We have two gears here. We have gear A and we have gear B, and we want to look at the teeth driven on gear A and the teeth on driving gear B. If you notice here, the amount of teeth on gear A and the amount of teeth on gear B, you notice one is significantly larger than the other, to some, depending on the gear ratio, of course. So let's take a look at one of these problems. I'll take a look at letter G here. All right, so letter G says we want to find the number of teeth on driven gear A, and we are given the amount of teeth on gear B, which is 24. And our gear ratio here is 2 to 3. So let's go ahead and find out how we can go ahead and find out the number of teeth here driven on gear A. All right. So for this one here, I'm going to go ahead and write in a proportion. So the proportion here, in this case, we don't know what A is, okay? So since we don't know what A is, we're just going to put the teeth here. So A, so it'll be, we'll go X, okay? So X here, and then we'll put 24. All right, now one thing that's important here, that's going to be very key here for proportions is to, and I'll put this here, there's a couple of keys I'm going to put down. So let's put that down right now. All right. Key number one. Key number one is to label your units. Okay. So make sure that you label your units here. This is actually going to be fairly important for what we're going to be doing in these two sections here today. You're probably not sure why, but it actually is rather important here. Okay. And key number two, which is the bigger key here, is cross multiply. In this particular case, we're going to look at some basic algebra here in this particular section and work with it in the later parts of chapter 4. But again, it's where we see the basics and then kind of work our way up. So we have a ratio here of 2 to 3. Now, if we see 2 to 3, if you ever want to write, say, for example, A to B, if you see something like this, this is equivalent to if you wrote a fraction of A over B. That's the same exact thing. Nothing changes. So in our example here, we have a gear ratio of 2 to 3. Now, because we have a gear ratio here of 2 to 3, then in this case, we're just going to write 2 on the top and 3 on the bottom. What about the labeling here? Let's go ahead and take a look here and why the labeling here is important. I'm going to go ahead and put this in text format. So this is X for teeth. This is X teeth, okay, for gear A. All right. And this 24 here is going to be, again, put this in text again. So this is the X teeth for gear B. All right. So that means that in this case, for every 2 teeth of we have 3 teeth of gear B, we have 2 teeth X of gear A. So if you want to take a look here, if I want to label this, for example, I want to be sure that this has 2, again, teeth for gear A. And then down here, we'll have the same label. Okay. All right. Are there any questions about that so far? I want to be sure that that's clear there for you guys. Where is it? Here it is. Good with you? All right, cool. All right. I'm going to show this off here using my paint tool here. Okay, now this is actually useful in this particular instance because of what we need to do here. So we're going to have X over 24 equals 2 over 3. Now that we've lined this up here, we're going to cross multiply. So cross multiplication basically takes this. We're going to cross X with the 3 here, and we'll cross 24 with the 2. So this is the other key that we're talking about here. So what we get on the left-hand side is we get 24 times the 2 equals 3 times X. All right? Just like so. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and do 24 times 2. All right, so what's 24 times 2 here? All right, very good. So 48, spot on. All right, everybody coming out. There you go. Hey, I like this. All right, so we get 3x here. All right, can anybody tell me what we should do next? What should we do next if we're going to solve for x? What do you think we should do? We have to isolate x. I agree with that, Ivan. How can we do that? I definitely agree with that. Okay. Okay, very good. That's correct. We're going to go ahead and divide by 3. Spot on. All right. So here, one of the things that we talk about algebra, okay? Remember, one of the keys to algebra here, this is, again, just doing some basic algebra here. We're going to expand more upon the algebra concept in Chapter 6 when we get to that portion. But this is kind of like the introduction to that. If there's again, I'm going to reiterate here for the key to algebra is always the same thing. The key to algebra is going to be the word balance. All right? And this is the way we're going to approach pretty much every problem here is balance. Balance is number 1, meaning to say if I divide by 3 here, I have to divide by 3 here as well. Okay? What I do to one side is what I got to do to the other side if we're going to solve for any variable. Okay? Or do any sort of calculation. Okay. And we'll be using this idea of balance over and over and over and over again. So if you always have a tough time with algebra, always come back to that one word of balance. Once you understand balance and how to balance things out in certain equations, trust me, the subject becomes 10 times easier as a result. Okay? It really worked for me when I was working through stuff that I had a tough time with. So I highly recommend just kind of remembering that word in the back of your head. And that's correct, Gustavo. 16 is your final answer here. 48 divided by 3. Spot on skis. Perfect. All right. All right, so 16 teeth on gear A based on that. No problem. Okay. Any questions about that? Oh, I got lots of people. Jeez. I don't know what Molly Gang is, but hey guys, how are you doing? All right. It's just for just spam. No, don't worry about it. All right. How you doing, guys? I hope you're enjoying the math stream here. Hey, all I ask for is respect in the chat. That's all. Molly Gang on top. Okay, cool, man. Appreciate you guys. Let me ask you guys, what does Molly Gang represent? What do you guys do? I'll move on to the next problem here while you guys tell me. So. Okay. That's okay. No problem. All is forgiven, Molly. I have no problem with that. I know you guys are a little excited. It's okay. Molly Gang's a great society on Twitch. Well, I will tell you this. If you guys are a cool, respectful gang and you guys are chill, hey, I welcome you here over to my math channel. And I hope you guys learned something. You guys are welcome anytime. All I ask is just to be respectful. That's it. Simple, simple. All right. Let's go ahead and do another problem here. I know I sound a little boring, but hey. We're not doing more teeth ratios. I think let's do a practical problem here. All right. Yeah, there you go. Now I have a gang. Now I don't think I'm as cool as the Molly gang. I think those guys are pretty cool. So they're very kind and very nice. Very kind to raid my channel. So I do thank you guys. You know, feel free to follow if you like. So. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. Man, holy moly. Let's take a look here at number 3. Some machine trades here. So if 28 tapered pins can be machined from a steel rod 12 feet long, how many tapered pins can be made from a steel rod 9 feet long? Okay, so can anybody tell me how would I set up this proportion here? What should I do? How can I set up this this proportion here? So 28 tapered pins can be machined from a 12-foot long steel rod. How many pins can we make from a 9-foot one? All right, very nice. Very nice, Miguel. That's correct. Okay, so let's go back to our little guy here. So for just a second. So again, yeah, that wasn't. Let's do it. All right. So we're gonna have again. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna have 28 pins. All right. All right. So we're gonna have 28 pins over 12 feet. Okay, which represents the rod here. All right, so again, I'm just labeling my units here on the top and bottom. Again, I want to make this as easy as possible. So don't forget, lazy math is the best math, okay? That's the that's the way to be. We're trying to figure out the amount of pins here because we don't know how much we can machine off of 9 feet of rod here. So there we go. All right, very nice job, Miguel. All right. So, what should we do next? What can we do next here? Cross multiply. Okay. Completely agree. Let's cross multiply here and here. All right, so we get here 12x equals 28 times 9. Spot on, guys. You guys are doing pretty well today. All right. Positive vibes. Yes. All right. And what is 28 times 9 here? What do we get? Uh, 252, okay. So let's put 252 down here. All right. And what do we do next? So far, so bueno. Does it matter if they wrote it the other way around? No. If you wrote this, right? If you wrote like 252 equals 12x, yeah, it doesn't matter if you do it this way. You're still going to get the same answer because it's still the same steps. So whichever, look, at the end of the day, you know, whichever way you're going to feel comfortable with, that's the way you're going to go with. So far for me to go ahead and tell you what to do. All right, I'm not going to tell you which way, as long as it's consistent and you get the same result. So that's all I generally care about. Divide by 12, absolutely spot on, screw skis. All right. Yeah, so don't worry about which side it has to be. Hey man, you do you, as long as it's consistent. I'm cool with that. We get 21 straight up. Yeah, we do. Look at that. All right, so 21 pins. Ba-bam. All right, got that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Nice. Let's go ahead and do another one. Yes. Here we go. All right. So this next one here is a classic problem, a very classic problem with ratios. So most of this is pretty simple, but I'm going to go on to a slightly tougher one here. I always ask the same one every time, so just to get you a little more comfortable with how to work with ratios here. So actually, we'll talk about two of them on this page. And I'll teach you something here that's actually very practical that does affect you on a daily basis. Let's talk about number 30 here first, okay? So you'll see the practicality behind the math here, and you'll see why it's actually kind of important. So it says a business owner is currently renting her shop space for $94.50 a month. Her lease agreement states that her rent will be adjusted for each July according to the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index. Specifically, the ratio of this June's CPI to the previous June's CPI will be multiplied by the current monthly rent to determine the new monthly rent. If this June's CPI is 241.038 and last June's CPI was 238.638, what will her new monthly rent be beginning in July? All right, round the nearest buck. All right, so let's talk about this here for just a second. This is actually a very realistic problem, all right? The CPI is something that many of you may know, maybe, but this does reflect a consumer price index. I don't know how many of you have heard of the consumer price index, but it is a government statistic that basically takes over 50,000 goods and services and compiles it into an index depending on how much it costs for those goods and services. Essentially, what it can do is basically reflect what the inflationary price of certain goods and services are. CPI is incredibly important because of the fact that prices of certain goods will fluctuate either up and down, typically up because inflation also goes up by a certain percentage every year. Again, one of the things that CPI does reflect is how much purchasing power that you have. Let me go ahead and describe what I'm talking about here in a realistic context for just a second. Okay, so I'm going to take out some money here. And this is all I got in my wallet for right now because I deposited some of the rest. All right, so here is $1. All right, here is $1. All right, now let's think about it this way. All right, looking at this dollar. All right, how much can this dollar buy you today? How much can this dollar buy you today? If you're to go to the store and you say, hey, I want to spend $1 on whatever, how much can this dollar really get you? Go ahead and type that in the chat. How much does $1 really get you at the end of the day? Okay. Lol is a good answer. Not really all that much, right? Very little. Very, very little, right? You can maybe buy, if you're lucky, you can maybe buy a pack of gum, if you're lucky. Okay? It really buys you really little, right? You look at your dollar in your pocket, you're like, man, this dollar doesn't really get me very, very far, right? Maybe a 2-liter office soda, yeah. Maybe a third of a gallon of gas, yeah, absolutely. A piece of gum, absolutely. Basically very little to next to nothing. This is really important to know, okay? Because we look at a dollar today and says, yeah, you practically can gain nothing from this dollar. But what if we were to rewind time back to, like, say, 1950, 1960? Could you buy more with this dollar than you could today? Do you think you could buy more? Like, yeah, way more, right? It's the same dollar, right? It's the same exact dollar. It has the same exact value, all right, in terms of its actual, absolute value. It's 100 cents, it's a dollar. But let's talk about why the CPI is important. Because we want to talk about the very important fact of purchasing power. If there's one thing you want to know to be an independent person, purchasing power is one of those things that you absolutely need to take into account. Okay, and the CPI helps us understand what the purchasing power is for goods and services over a period of time. That dollar back in the 50s and 60s can take you far. You can buy a few things in the shopping cart with that. But now, it's literally worth nothing. The more inflation goes up, the less purchasing power that you have, because you all said that you can't purchase anything with that dollar anymore. So now you need even more of these dollars or more money in order to purchase that same good and service over time. Inflation is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does reflect here, it does reflect kind of a disconnect. Think of it this way. If I'm making, like, let's go for an example here. If I'm making like $20,000 a year, let's say I'm working hourly wage, I'm making, like, let's say $20 an hour, and I'm making that same $20 an hour next year. In effect, I am absolutely making the same amount of money per year, but I've actually lost purchasing power because of inflation, because of, say, 2% of inflation that's happened year over year. So, in effect, because of inflation happening and because the price in goods and services continue to go up, the government doesn't have to necessarily reach into your pocket to steal the amount of money that you earn. You lose that purchasing power year over year. And that's what you see here today, is the large disconnect of people who are being paid the same for more productivity instead of being paid a little bit more in order to match that inflation. That's why people are kind of falling behind little by little, and that's why there's a big gap between people who are earning more and people who are people on the bottom of the ladder. That's why there's less of a middle class, because you're losing purchasing power over time. You're making the same amount of money, but in reality, you have to spend more and more to maintain your lifestyle, whatever your lifestyle is. And that's very, very important. And the CPI is a very good statistic to use to compare how much would be, say, for example, $20,000 today. How much would be $20,000, back in, say, how much would you have to earn for $20,000 back in the day in, say, 1985? Okay, how much would that be? Would that be like $10,000 or something like that to get an equivalency of $20,000 here today? Maybe. And maybe earning $10,000 back in 1985 could be significantly easier than making $10,000 here today. And then you would see you would see the disparity between, say, you would see that huge disparity for wealth distribution and things like that. And this is also affected by region as well. So for those of you living in more expensive areas, yeah, then the disparity is even worse. So because purchasing power in certain areas will get you squat. For example, here I had a cousin, and he was like, I met him one day. We were out in San Francisco, and he was doing an internship. And I said, hey, how much you getting paid for this internship so you can, get experience and stuff? And he told me, well, I'm getting paid $25 an hour. And then I just started laughing. $25 an hour, right? $25 an hour is nothing in San Francisco, right? I have to take into account where you're making that money too. So that also matters quite a bit. If I said $25 an hour in San Francisco, like I just started laughing. I'm like, man, that sucks. If I said $25 an hour here in the Chicagoland area, yeah, $25 an hour is a lot. Okay, or in your local area, maybe $25 an hour is a lot. Yeah, $25 is pretty good, but maybe not in other places where the cost of living is quite high. So perspective matters when it comes to certain things like that. And the CPI is a very good realistic, very good way to kind of see exactly, you know, that 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 rising cost of your lifestyle and things like that. So yeah, definitely a very practical use of where we can use mathematics. Are there any questions, by the way? We're gonna figure out this problem, of course, because I'm not gonna ramble on forever. But at the end of the day, no questions? Okay. Remember, at the end of the day, I want you to have, if you're going to be independent and you're going to work for yourself, if you're going to work for a company or not, whatnot, make sure you have enough purchasing power to maintain the lifestyle that you want. That's very important. So, don't, again, things are going to work against you. So you got to understand, what your purchasing power is going to be. If it means sacrificing a thing or two, okay, fine, but you know, I'm sure certain things you're not going to be able to live without. So again, take that into account when you talk about purchasing power and things like that. Always reflect on purchasing power. How much can I stretch my book? All right. Let's go ahead and do this problem here. Okay. So if we're going to do this problem here, this one's not too bad. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the 94.50 per month. So the way we do CPI and to compare, say, one year to another, is we take 94.50. We take 94.50. We're going to multiply by the CPI. So basically it goes like this. We take the price. So let's take the CPI of, let's say, what was this? June CPI of this year. So there's two ways to do this. It's a CPI of this year over CPI of yesteryear. So there we go. So we're going to take 94.50 here. Actually, let me put this down here. Okay. Hey, thank you. So let's take 94.50 here, and we'll multiply it by, let's see, what's the CPI here? 241.038. So 241.038. All right, over 238.638. All right. And so this is what we're going to bit bop boop in the calculator there. All right, no problemos. All right. So does anybody got an answer for me here? $95.45.04. Okay, cool. All right, so this is what she'll have to pay next year. Okay, good stuff. Got it. All right, cool. Okay, any questions about that? I know that gas is more expensive than it used to be back in back in 1997. That's for sure. I paid I actually paid this much back in 1997. Um, I literally paid um, 80 cents per gallon for one of my tanks of gas back in 1997. I'd hit up a gas station close to the border between Illinois and Wisconsin that had the cheapest gas in the state. Man, let me tell you, that was some glory. If you've ever filled up your tank for less than $10, I think that's the only time in my life I was able to do so. It's quite amazing. You could actually figure out how much 80 cents per gallon is in today's dollars. In today's dollars, it's like, yeah, I will say that those were good times for gas. Oh man, yeah. At that time I was fresh out of high school, so um, I was like, man, driving around, chilling with friends, going out to movies all the time and stuff. Yeah, we would drive everywhere, and the gas is super cheap. At that time, I had a Mazda Protege. That was my that was my beater car, a Mazda Protege. Can you show how you get the 954504? So again, we took the 9450 that she paid last year. We multiplied by the CPI for this year and divided that by the CPI from last year. Yeah, it was a emerald green Mazda Protege. there's a big there's a funny story about that car. It was weird. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was a to this day that car. Oh my gosh. That car died in the most unusual manner. In the most unusual manner. Like, so I would drive it to college and stuff like that when I was an undergrad because I kept it a few more years. So one day I'm driving the car and it was on its last legs, like you knew, because again, it would take a long time for it to go from one gear to another. So it would, like, go over like this because it had a not the greatest transmission in the whole wide world. So you could feel it roll over. You have to press it to rev it up. One day I revved it up, and uh, the engine rolled over, and then I hear this big whoop, and then it went boom, and I'm like, the whole car lurched up and then went boof, and I'm like, what the heck was that? What happened? And I'm like, I don't know what happened. So I'm like, the car ran fine. I drove to school, and I was like, okay, perfect, fine. All right, who cares? It's a thing. The transmission sucks. Whatever. All right. So I'm driving back home. It's nighttime. I'm driving back home, and then suddenly I feel its transmission starting to go, and I'm like, I kind of feel its transmission starting to go. So I'm driving down the street toward my house, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, my car literally stops while my foot's on the accelerator, and then reverses back 10 feet. And I'm like, hold up a second. What the heck is this? Are you serious? My car has stopped and reversed 10 feet? I'm like, nah, 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 nah. This can't be real. So I'm like, okay, let me drive in first gear. First gear was fine. Okay, first gear would drive up to like 15 miles an hour. Once it hit past first gear, it would stop again, reverse 10 feet. I'm like, are you serious? I've never experienced that in my life. Even to this day, I've never experienced that in my life. And the car literally died that day because basically we took it to the shop. They're like, okay, can we salvage this? We're like, yeah, you got to get the transmission replaced. The transmission shot. But I'm like, but also the engine block was cut in half. So that time where the car lurched forward and went, slammed down, the engine block literally cut in half all the way down. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So that was what happened. I'm like, how did the car not just fall apart on my way to school? I don't understand that. I never will. I don't think I ever will. What was my first car? My first car was a Toyota Camry. A Toyota Camry was my first car. A maroon Toyota Camry that I had bad habits of leaving the lights on all the time. Yes. Got into an accident when I was 16, learned lessons, and yeah, there you go. That protege, oh my gosh, that protege. Holy cow. What an epic way to die. All right. Jay, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to take your word for it. You know more about cars than I do. To this day, I just find it weird. So if it was a transmission solenoid that went out, makes you lose all your gears randomly, I want to totally be on your side on that one. If that's what happened on that old tranny, no problem. All right? Because that transmission was bad. Was just bad. Like, that Protege's transmission was just awful. Makes you all use, man. Go like 1 to 6 gear. Like, oh my gosh, it'd be crazy. All right. My cars, man, my cars. I got many more stories with cars, let me tell you. Many more stories. Me and cars we get along, but not all the time. I remember being in an accident as a kid while I was sleeping in the back seat of a car. So I slept in the back seat of like our our family station wagon, and then the next thing I know, I wake up and the first thing I see is a police officer. And I'm like, oh, yeah, what happened? And I just see all these shards of glass. I'm like, yeah, what happened? I'm just like, whatever. All right, let's look at 31 here. All right, let's keep moving forward here. I gotta do this stuff. Yeah, you know, I have to do a job. You know, the teaching part. Okay. Um, let's look at 31. All right, so a small welding shop employs 4 welders and 1 secretary. A workers' compensation insurance policy charges a premium of $10.59 per $100 of gross wages for the welders and a $1.38 per $100 of gross wages for the let's call it the administrative assistant there. If each welder earns $36,000 per year and the assistant earns $28,000 per year, what is the total annual premium for this insurance? Okay. All right, so what should I do here in this case if I'm going to solve this particular problem? What should I do here in this case? What do you think we could do? Okay, solve the cost per welder. All right, so how much did we pay the welders? Let's answer that. Each welder earns 36,000 bucks per year. So if we want to figure out how much money we spent on the welders, what should we do? Hmm. Okay, that's fair. So 1059 over 100. We're missing one part though. I've actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it that way. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Yeah, I'll do it that way. There's a couple ways to do this one, so but I'll do it your way there. No problem. It's just as good. So we have 1059 over 100. And then we have x over 36,000. All right, so that sounds good. All right, so let's cross multiply this. So we get 100x. And again, you can do this stuff on the calculator here. So let's go ahead and do that right now. 36,000 times $10.59. So I get 381,240. Yeah. Okay. And now we're just going to go ahead and divide by 100. So in this case here, we're going to get $3,812.40. All right. What should we do with this? What should we do with 3812.40? What do you think we could do with that? Correct, right? We want to multiply that by 4 welders. Okay, so we have 4 welders. So we'll multiply that straight up by 4. And yeah. So the premium here, for the welders at least, is $15,249.60. All right. All right, and then we also have the assistant here who earns $28,000 a year. So we also have to factor just one assistant. So take $1.38, put that over 100, and that's going to equal X over 28K. So we're going to cross multiply here. Get 100X equals 28K times $1.38. So let's figure out what that is. So we get 38,640. So if we divide by 100 on both sides, we get $386.40. So again, you could use a calculator for this. I'm just kind of doing it a little fast. You can get through this problem quicker. All right, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to take the 15,249 60. We'll add that to the 386.40. All right. And so we get $15,636 as our final result. All right. Are there any questions about that one? Hopefully that, I know I went a little fast on that one, but hopefully that makes it a bit easier to do. What's the other way? The other way is the other way wouldn't be any far different, Ivan. You could find out how much you make, how much you pay the welders overall. So you pay the welders overall 4 times 36. You take to account the 4 first. So you do 4 times 36, which is 144,000, and then do the same proportion there. And then you would do the same proportion for the assistant as well, and then add those together. You would end up at the same result, but I would just do the 4 first, so I don't have to do that extra step. But that's just the way I would do it. But either way, you'll still get the same answer. So like I said, there's not your way is just as good as the as like my way. So, but I'm willing to go ahead and do things your way. Just make it a bit easier. If you feel like just kind of cutting it piecemeal like that is fine. So no worries on that. Hey, all right, all right. Um, let's go ahead and go to the next section here. So this will be the last section here of the day. So let's go ahead and see what we're working with here, though, in section 4.2. All right, so section 4.2 here deals with section 4.2 deals with special applications of ratios and proportions. Okay, so in this particular case, we're going to be dealing with there is a problem I want. Yeah, okay. There are 2 types of proportions that we're going to be that we're going to be dealing with in this section. One of them we've already done, which is what we call direct proportions or direct ratios, whichever way you want to kind of call it. So direct proportions basically says this, is that if we increase something, if we increase one value, that means that the resulting value here will also increase. So increase will lead to increase. If we decrease said value for a direct proportion, then the resulting value, again, will decrease. So decrease will just lead to decrease. Okay, so if we decrease something, the resulting value will decrease. So that's what we did in the first section there. All right, so in the first section there, the more money that we paid, all right, that means that the more premium that we paid overall. So, okay. So that would mean increase of salary equals increase of premium. Fair enough. All right. If we decreased our salary, we would decrease the premium in that last example. However, there is a second proportion that we're going to be looking at in this section, and those are inverse proportions. So inverse proportions basically say, all right, if we increase something, suddenly it reverses ship. Now you have a decrease. Okay? And if you decrease, well then suddenly, automatically, you get an increase of that result. Again, depending on the context of the problem. So what we're going to be looking at here is examples of both types of problems here. But we're going to look at the inverse proportions here first so we can see exactly how we need to set up, because the setup here is going to be the biggest deal. Okay, because we're going to use those same things about labeling our units here and putting the numbers in the right places. Those those things are very, very important. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to see exactly how that works out. Okay. Right. Make sure we got this. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at an example here. This is going to be on page 218. So this is a pretty classic problem here, but one of the good ones here, definitely. So, all right. Let's take a good look here at problem number 1. All right, so problem number 1 is a classic example, and we'll see exactly how we can work with this appropriately in terms of setting up, say, types of proportions here. So it says a line shaft rotating at 250 RPMs is connected to a grinding wheel by the pulley assembly shown in the diagram. So here you have the grinding wheel, and here you have the pulley and the RPMs. If the grinder shaft must turn at 1200 RPMs, what size pulley should be attached to the line shaft? Okay, so this guy here is turning at 1200 RPMs, and we have a 5-inch pulley here. This is turning at 250 RPMs, and we want to find how many inches this pulley is going to be. Now, if you think about it this way, this is a pure example of a inverse proportion. Let's talk about why that is here in this case before we go ahead and start. The reason is because here you have a smaller pulley, you have a pulley with a smaller diameter. Okay, and because this pulley has a smaller diameter, it spins faster, right? It takes less time for it to go around, okay, which means that it will have higher amount of RPM. So the smaller the diameter of the pulley, the more RPMs that you're going to have for that particular pulley. So the wider that pulley is, again, the bigger that pulley is, that means you have less RPMs. So again, increase of the diameter of the pulley equals a decrease in the number of RPMs for that pulley, because it takes longer to go around one rotation. That's why in this case it is an inverse proportion and not a direct proportion. Okay, so it's very important to note here that certain things like a pulley or things like that will reflect an inverse proportion here in this particular instance. So one of the key things here that I guess I'll point out here before we actually do the problem is key here is to note what type of proportion you have depending on the problem given. So you need to first determine whether you have a direct proportion or an inverse proportion. After that, then you can go ahead and set up the problem. Okay. Are there questions about that before I move on? No? Okay. No? All right. Good stuff. It's perfectly fine. Okay. 250 over 5 equals 1200 over x. Okay. Let me think about that for a second. I have to think about that. It's 250 RPM over a 5 pulley equals 1200 over x. That I don't know if that will work necessarily. I'm not sure yet though. I have to kind of put that in my head here. You know, I'm going to try that after I finish this problem here and see if we get the same result here, Gustavo. We'll try that out and see what we get here. So, I'm going to write out how I would do the problem here, but then I'll try your way and then see if we end up with the same result. Because I can't really think of it off the top of my head. So, let's experiment and find out. Why not? All right, should be okay. So let's talk about how I would actually do this problem here. How would I attack this problem here? Actually, one of the things that I talked about here was labeling. Okay, labeling here is going to be a pretty big deal. Okay, so what we're going to have here is I'm going to start off similar to what you have there, Gustavo, but I'm going to put 1200 RPMs here. All right, and I'm going to put 250 RPMs here on the bottom. Okay. Now, normally I would say, okay, the 1200, if this was a direct one, 1200 should go to the 5-inch pulley, and 1200 should go to the 5-inch pulley, and 250 should go to the X pulley. So if this was direct, I should have X on the bottom here, and I should have X on the bottom here, and I should have 5 up here, because that's, again, with a direct proportion. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen here. In this case, we're going to go ahead and invert it. So we're going to have 5 inches up here, and then X inches over here. This represents the inverse here in this particular case. So we're just flipping it around, just like so, if we're going to set up the inverse proportion here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we get here. We're still going to cross multiply here, but let's see what we get here in this particular problem. So, wait, did I put that backwards? Let me see. Hang on. What did I put? Oh, I put it backwards. Oops, my bad. This should be the other way. Mobby. All right, so this should be. I don't know why I wrote the same thing again. Boo. Ay, ay, ay. All right, X inches and 5 inches. There. That's what should happen there. Not sure why I wrote the same thing twice. So, not smart things brought to you by Professor Chips. All right, so. All right, so here we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to have 250x equals 1200 times 5. Oop, should be parentheses there. And so here we're going to get 250x equals 6,000. Okay. And we'll divide by 250 here on both sides. All right. And what do we get here as our result? 6,000 divided by 250. All right. Very good. Nice. So 24 inches will be our pulley here in this particular case. Now, Gustavo, I'm going to see if we get 24, because 24 is the correct answer here. So let's see what happens in your case there with how you set that up. I'm actually curious. I think that's correct. But now that I look at it, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, definitely. Your way, Gustavo, is just as good. All right. Just be sure that you keep it consistent with your units there, so you set it up correctly. But if you're comfortable with that, yeah, then you can go ahead and use that. That's fine. That would also represent appropriately an inverse proportion. So the way I set it up is I make sure that I have the same units on one side, and I have the same units on the other, and then kind of flip it over. So, but like I said, if you find it to be easier the way you did it your way, Gustavo, then yeah, just go with that, and then you should be okay. Cool. All right, let's do another problem. We need more problems. More problems. All right. More problems. All right. Let's do number 6. Number 6 says, if 60 gallons of oil flow through a certain pipe in 16 minutes, how long will it take to fill a 450-gallon tank using this pipe? React to this music. Okay. I got elevator music for you. All right. So the first question we're going to ask here is what kind of proportion do we have here? Do we have a direct proportion, or do we have an inverse proportion here in number 6? So do you have an inverse proportion or a direct proportion here for number 6? So again, with the direct proportion, an increase would lead an increase, decrease would lead to a decrease. Inverse would be the opposite. An increase would lead to decrease, and a decrease would lead to an increase. So let's answer this question here. Would it take more time? Would it take more or less time to fill up a 450-gallon tank? What do you think? Yeah, that's right. So the bigger the tank, the more time it's going to take for us to go ahead and fill up that tank. So in this case here, the answer here is going to be a direct proportion. So we're dealing with a direct proportion here because an increase in the tank equals an increase in the amount of time. So we're going to set this up using a direct proportion here. So let's see what we got here, and let's see what we're working with. All right. Okay, so to set up our direct proportion here, we have here, once again, we have 60 gallons. I'm going to put that over 450 gallons. And it takes 16 minutes, 16. So notice here, I'm going to so here in this case, 60 is going to go directly to 16, and we're going to have X amount of minutes down here since we don't know how much time it's going to take. Okay. Now we just go ahead and proceed the same way we did in the last problem. So just cross multiply here. So we get 450. I know this stuff's a little boring, but gotta get through this. So there's just going to be some of those sections I gotta kind of plod through. So 450 times 16, what's that going to be? What's that going to be? Oh yeah, I know what it's equal to. All right. Let's see if you guys get it though. $7,200, spot on. Yes, yes, yes. Very nice. Excellent, excellent. And we'll straight up divide by 60. And what do we get here for X? Spot on, Gustavo. All right. There we go. 120 minutes to 2 hours. There you go. You got it. Questions so far about that? Have probably just one more to go here, but Okay. All right. Let's do one more here. There is one more I want to do. Where is it here? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's go to the next page here. All right, there it is. All right, this is the one I want to do here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look at number 20 here. All right. So number 20 says a wrought iron gate for a new house will be 18 feet 9 inches long and 9 feet 6 inches high. An architect makes a drawing of the gate using a scale factor of 1/4 of an inch is equal to 1 foot. What will the dimensions of the gate on the drawing be? Okay. So, what should we do here first in this problem for number 20? What do you think is a good idea? What do you think would be a good idea here? If I try to find out, what the dimensions here of this drawing is, what do you think I could do here first? This one's a little tricky, so see if you guys can see it right away. If you guys can't see it right away, that's okay. But we're just gonna take a look here. Find out the total feet. Okay. We can find out the total feet here. All right, that part is true. All right, so how would you express that in this case? So you have 18 point what? Like 18 feet 9 inches is how many feet? How would you put that as, like, say a decimal or something like that? So I like we're multiply. Well, okay, simple question here for you guys. How many inches in a foot? 12, okay? So there's 12 inches in a foot, all right? So, that shouldn't be too much of a problem here. So if we change 18 feet 9 inches into, like, if we say 18 feet and then 9 over 12, for example. So if I put this down here, let me erase this. So I'll show you how this can, there's several ways to do this problem, by the way. So this is not just the only way, but so if we had 18 feet 9 inches, this is the same thing as 18 and 9 over 12, and then we can convert that into a decimal. Okay, so you can actually just do 9 divided by 12 on the calculator there if you want to do it this way. So what would you have here in this case? Correct. So 18.75 feet is what we would have here for that first dimension. Now, the proportion here, I want to talk about the proportion here because, like I said, this can be a bit tricky at times. The proportion here is based on the scaling of the drawing, and according to the scaling of the drawing here, the scaling of the drawing here says that we have 1/4 of an inch is equal to 1 foot. Okay, that's what the scaling factor is according to the problem. Now, because of that fact, we're going to set it up like this. We're going to have 18.75 feet. All right, just like so. And we're just going to put that over, again, we have 18.75 feet is going to be equivalent to, say, X inches. So we don't know, or you could put that over 1 foot, actually. Let me do that. Maybe make it a bit easier for you. So let's put this over 1 foot. Let's do that. 1 foot, as we know, this is a direct proportion, by the way. This is direct. So we're going to have 1/4 of an inch on the bottom here, and X inches here on the top. So all we're going to do here is multiply 1/4 times 18.75. Does anybody have an answer for me here? What's X equal to? .6875. Okay, good. So we have 4.6875 inches. Okay, would be our first dimension. So that's fine. All right. We can look at the other dimension as well. All right. So we have what do we got? 9 feet 6 inches. All right. So this one here is pretty easy. 9 feet 6 inches. Okay, both of you correct. 9 feet 6 inches is 9.5 feet, so 9.5. So we're gonna, basically you're just doing the same thing a second time. So really quick on your calculator here, do 9.5 times 1/4. Okay, because it's the same exact calculation as before. So 9.5 times 1/4, and let me know what you guys got. 2.375. Okay, cool. So that's what we got here. 2.375 is what we get here for our result here. So our dimensions here, 4.6875, and then by 2.375 would be our dimensions here for the drawing so this will be our final answer here. Okay, good stuff. Nice job. Any questions? Any questions about that? All right, good stuff. Perfect. Exactly where I want to be. So. Anybody have any questions over the last 3 sections here? 3.3, 4.1, and 4.2. Again, if you have no questions, just type no in the chat, or if you do have a question, please type a question out. I'll be happy to answer it for you. Can I go over direct and indirect again? Sure. So let's take a look here in this case. Okay, a direct proportion here, again, is this if So let me go ahead and clear this out here. Give me just a second here. Okay. So let me just go over the concept here. Remember, the important part here about direct and indirect proportions is just determining based on the context of the particular problem. Okay, Ivan? So in this case here, for direct basically says if we increase our initial value, okay, that will lead to an increase of the resulting value. Okay, so like in this previous problem here, we increased the dimension like 18 feet 9 inches. Okay, so the bigger the feet were, the bigger the dimension was. So that's why it was, say, a direct proportion here. Same thing if it works for decrease. Decrease goes to decrease. So if I have a smaller dimension, if I have a smaller amount of feet, I should have a smaller dimension. In it's not so much as indirect, we'll call it inverse. Okay, so inverse proportion. All right, so inverse proportion here basically says if we increase that value, then basically at the end of the day, you get a decrease of the result here. All right, so if you increase the value, you get a decrease of the result. So that's what we talked about that first problem of the pulley, right? The bigger the pulley, okay, the less RPMs that you're going to have. All right, and then if we decrease it, so the pulley, if we have a smaller pulley, then the more amount of RPMs it's going to go around, right? So a decrease would actually equal to an increase here at the end of the day. Does that make sense, Ivan? Yeah. I know my voice ain't the most exciting thing in the whole wide world. I know it's Wednesday, and you know you're like it's hump day, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I understand. I know sometimes the content that I teach is rather boring, so but I gotta go through it so that way I cover all the basics. Okay. Remember, at the end of the day, this is just helpful for you guys. So you got a lot of people are probably are some people are probably already know this, but again, I cover the material so that way it goes over. If it goes over your head, that's fine. If it's you zone out, sometimes that's fine. Yeah, I don't mind at all. Some of it's pretty much review for you, and some of it's hopefully I had a few little bit of extra nuggets of knowledge, so that shouldn't be too bad. Any other questions? Oh, I appreciate that, Ivan. I try and make it more interesting to be more relevant. Because the last thing I would want to do is just be like, and then math happens, and then magic, and then numbers, and then yeah. They'd be like, that's very interesting and very not exciting. So, but yeah, there's definitely reality to the situation. So, is definitely something that can be useful for you for what you want to do later on. So ratio is definitely used a lot of times in cooking, or again, like I said, if you're mixing oil and gas in a mower or something like that, you have to follow the instruction manual in terms of having the right ratio down. Otherwise, then the problem is that if you put too much, then you make your fuel mixture too rich, and then it can't properly ignite the gasoline compared to the oil you put in. So it'll shut down the motor then. Any other questions? You good? Miguel, Gustavo, anybody else would like to ask me any more questions about the 3 sections we covered today? That's okay. Quick question for you, Miguel. Did you get your code? Because Gustavo had issues with getting a code because the rep didn't contact him back. So um, if you're having the same issue that you didn't get a contact back, then yeah, I would just like buy the code and hope and then ask if you can get compensated for the wrong one. So or just get your money back for where you bought it. So so what you should do, Miguel, really quick is kind of do it what Gustavo did. Just basically buy the code from the bookstore for the Saunders book, or just buy a regular MyMathLab access code, and then wherever you got your former access code from, see if you can return that and get your money back for that since you never used it. So yeah, yeah. So go ahead, Miguel. Yeah, if it's taking too long for them to contact you back, because I don't want you to like fall too far behind in terms of like not being able to do the work. So just purchase the new code with the correct textbook, and then see if you can get your money back from where you purchased your previous access code. Uh, you're not sure if you get a refund? How much it run you? How much? 135? Let me ask you a question, Miguel. Is that a lot? Is that a lot for you, Miguel? 135? You paid with financial aid? Okay. All right, yeah. Talk to the bookstore and see if they can take your financial aid from that. So, uh, okay. Yeah, talk to the bookstore to see if they can cover you with financial aid, because you got the wrong code. All right. So see if you talk to the bookstore and say you know what, I got the wrong book with my financial aid money, and then see if you can get that returned and then get a new code. If not, then just let me know and then I'll front you the money. I'll just like Venmo you or whatever. Yeah, I can understand that. That's okay. Dude, it's cool, man. Look, look, like I said, look, I told you the wrong information and it's still my responsibility. So I don't want you to be like penalized for that. We're 2 weeks into the course, and I have no issues with that at all. You just let me know if you need the help there. Then yeah, you just let me know, and then I'll be happy to send something along there so you can get the code properly. So okay. Okay, if you're having issues too, Gustavo, then I can front you some as well. So I don't got a problem with that. I just don't want you guys to be gypped because of my mistake. So, you know. Yeah, I'm hoping so too, but in case if it doesn't, okay, Miguel, I just want you to know that you have a fallback option, okay? Yeah, I don't want to be like, you don't have to be like stuck in that situation indefinitely. So no, it was a misunderstanding due to me. Okay, so it was like I said, it was my responsibility for that, and like I said, I need to take responsibility for that. So um, yeah, I'm not gonna leave you hanging. So what about a student from another class that needs that code? I mean, if they need something, yeah, then they can get financial aid or they can contact me. Who needs a code? Because usually I kind of let people kind of figure that out first, in terms of if they can pay. So okay, look, send me your email or Venmo or whatever. See if you need me to send something, that's fine. So like I said, responsibility has to be done both ways. It's not just done via you guys. I have to be responsible for my own mistakes. So if it help, if Miguel is like behind because of my mistake, then I have to do the right thing. Money is money, and I could give a shit about it. But if it helps Miguel, at the end of the day, be in a better position to be a success, man, then who gives a crap about $135? I don't. I don't care about $135. I'd rather have it go to a good place. Thanks, guys. Okay. Yeah, just let me know, Miguel, if you do, and then I can make those arrangements if necessary. Just feel free to email me. Gustavo for Black class president. Very nice. I nominate Miguel and Diego for co-vice presidents. Okay, that's good. Look, you guys take. Hey, you guys take care of me. I take care of you. Okay, that's that's only fair. That's why I like having a nice open dialogue with you guys. It's just to be like, hey, we can talk things out, and if we can find a solution that makes it easier for you guys at the end of the day, great. Then I'll be happy to oblige, regardless of whatever we need to do. I've been prone to do very crazy and drastic things, so but only for the benefit of all. So to maybe most of the time. Is that it for today? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna end off here for today. Um, so next time we're going to go over the rest of chapter 4, which is 3 sections. All right, that's going to be, remember, next Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday. All right, so no class next Monday. So next Wednesday we're going to finish up the last 3 sections of chapter 4, and then the following week after that we're going to get into chapter 5, and I fully expect us to get through all of chapter 5 here by that fourth week, by the end of that fourth week, and then probably after that I'll announce the test once we're done with chapter 5. So my expectation is that the test will probably be due like 3 weeks from now. We'll see exactly how the pace kind of goes on next Wednesday, but that's my expectation is 3 weeks from now the first test will be due. So yeah, there's a long time off from that, but at least I'll give you a good idea about kind of what my estimated time is going to be at this point. Any other questions? Thanks, Miguel. All right. So, if hey, no problem, Miguel. You have a great night as well. Okay, you take care of yourself. All right. Um. Okay. So that'll take care of it for today, everybody. I want to thank you all, everybody here in the chat, everybody who's watching. Yeah, I want to thank you all again. Thank you very much for hanging out with me here tonight, and over once again another good technical mathematics class. I want to thank you all again, and I hope to see you all. Have a great evening. Yes, have a great evening. Stay safe and stay healthy, everybody. We'll see you later. I'll be on tomorrow for another 3 classes. So, we, Math 97, will meet next Wednesday. All right? All right. Have a great night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. All right. See you later, everybody. All right. Bye.